And if I may just take a brief moment to express thanks to Travis Beck, our park superintendent, rec superintendent Rachel Kaufman, and our principal management analyst Lindsay Bass. They and their teams do an unbelievable amount of work each 2 months. Between the time that we meet, we could spend the full 2.5 hours talking about these things. And so just appreciate the feedback there, but wanted to highlight the work that they do, and we try to encapsulate in these updates for the commission and the public. So just wanted to share a quick kudos and appreciation for them. Heading into this meeting, Chair Mio requested that I share updates on 2 items. One is the Pogonip and Homeless Garden Project update from our last meeting. The other is an update on the Park Rangers program and some direction that we have from City Council. So I'll just share a couple brief updates on these, and happy to answer any brief questions that the commission members have. So following our last commission meeting, where the commission voted in support of advancing the request to really endorse a process to amend the Pogonip Master Plan. This is regarding the Homeless Garden Project's request to move their farm to the Upper Meadow in Pogonip. We took that to the City Council, and the City Council endorsed this recommended process that we put forward unanimously, so 7-0. So staff is in this due diligence phase that we shared with the commission and the City Council a couple months ago as well. So we've anticipated this would be a 90-day process. It may be a little bit longer than that 90-day process, but we want to reflect on a lot of the questions that we received through the public, through public comment and feedback, both in the commission meeting and the City Council meeting. A lot of questions regarding potential environmental impacts, land use, a number of technical questions from the public. But we also want to address questions and concerns from within the city as well. So different departments, fire department, water department, and others, and what a plan amendment could mean, and some of the things that will be necessary. So we're really doing this due diligence phase. We shared this in detail at the last Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. And this information for the public, I believe, can still be found online if people want to reference that timeline or information that we shared. So we're going through that process as we speak, and we'll anticipate that we will check in with the commission and the council shortly after the first of the new year on status of this due diligence and information gathering that we're doing. The last thing I just wanted to be sure to mention are a couple things. Is one, that we continue to work on the characterization of our lead contamination in the Lower Meadow. We're working with County Environmental Health on a remediation plan, and we'll have that work done by probably the spring in 2022. So we'll report back to the commission and council on the steps related to remediation. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that for the Parks and Recreation Commission, as we head into this new year, and something that we might talk about more once we get into the new year, is really this ongoing topic of Pogonip and the Homeless Garden Project. So I think the Parks and Rec Commission is well poised to be the sounding board on a lot of different issues and topics related to this due diligence phase that we're doing, but also as we go into a master planning phase in CEQA. So we'll likely carve out time in just about every commission meeting heading into the new year, at least as a placeholder for us to touch base on this item. So, and that's something that we can talk about certainly more at a retreat that we'll talk about later in this meeting today, and we'll schedule for some time in the first part of next year. So I'll stop there, and happy to answer any questions on that topic before I move to the park ranger topic.
Any questions for Tony? Okay, then yeah, go on to the Rangers then.
All right, thank you, Chair Mio. So on the Park Ranger program, this is an item that we received direction on from the City Council during our budget process last year. So this was last spring or summer. And we received specific direction from the City Council to work on a proposal to bring back park rangers to be under the Parks and Recreation Department. Superintendent Travis Beck and I have been working on some analysis and evaluation of different models. And what we hope to do is put together some really different options for the commission and the city council to consider as we head into the fiscal year 2023 budget. So we will start getting into budget planning. We're just getting into our scheduling and calendaring for that budget process, but this winter and into the spring, we will get into that budget process in more detail. Wanted to share a little bit of feedback just for the public primarily, but about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, staff in partnership with the Parks and Recreation Commission and City Council did some analysis through a subcommittee, an ad hoc subcommittee of the commission related to staff safety. And so we looked at a number of items, and this often tied back to the ranger program or absence of a ranger program. So the staff has taken action in the meantime on a number of things, from improving communications, our phones in the field, communications procedures, updated the uniform policy, and increased and enhanced safety training as well. We've also taken steps to post additional signage out in the field to make park rules more apparent and visible, and worked with a number of key partners, adopt-a-park groups in particular, to work on just making places visible, keeping areas clean and safe as much as we can. But aside, aside from those internal improvements in response to that subcommittee's work, the ranger program is absolutely a significant piece of this and a really critical piece that we see from our standpoint. So again, Superintendent Beck and I are working on a set of proposals that we would bring to the commission and the council as part of the budget process for this coming year. In the meantime, we're looking to identify potential grant opportunities that can help fund such a program as well. So that's a quick summary on that. Happy to answer any questions the commission has.
Thanks, Tony. Vice Chair Brown.
Thank you. Just a process question for our director, and that is, if we anticipate our meeting dates are going to shift to be February and April rather than January and March, would it be possible to get an update in February about some of those options from a budget perspective? Because as we get closer to April and the council closes in on its budget hearings, a lot of that stuff can already be a little bit, baked in. And so you might want to get, benefit from some type of commission input before you get too deep into the spring, and budget numbers tend to get a little bit more cemented in place. So just a suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, Vice Chair Brown. Oh, yeah, sorry. Appreciate the question. I think that's a great question. And the information that we have in February, we can absolutely plan to report out to the commission on that. And Vice Chair Brown, you referenced, I think, an item that we'll talk about in a little bit, which is the update to the bylaws and potentially shifting our meeting dates. And an advantage of that and meeting in April is that we will have a little bit more of a concrete view of our budget proposal, but it won't be set in stone yet. So in past years, we've met in March when it's really kind of up in the air. At times, we're really in those initial stages in terms of the budget. So April, I think, will put us in a good position in advance of the budget without it being necessarily too baked in. But to the extent we've got detailed information, happy to check in on that in February.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, this brings us to agenda item number 4, and thank you very much, Tony, for your report. Approval of minutes. And are there any clarifying questions, edits, comments for the minutes? Commissioner Greenside? And then Commissioner Norris.
I just wanted to bring all of our attention, if we haven't already seen it, that the minutes were corrected.
Maintenance. Tony Elliott, our director, will be presenting that item.
All right, thank you, Chair Mio. Since this is an information item, I don't have a specific presentation on this item, but happy to answer any questions that the Commission has related to the San Lorenzo River.
Sorry.
There are hands up.
Okay, there's a crackling in the line. Is that my side or from your side? It's Vice Chair Brown.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Director and the staff for the summary that we had of the actions being taken in and around the river. I also, unless I missed it, because I read it too quickly, I also just wanted to note that the beautiful archway art project related to the historic Chinatown area has also been a recent improvement on the Riverwalk. I also wanted to highlight the work of the Downtown Streets team to continue to make the Riverwalk a nicer place to be. And I also just wanted to request an update to the extent there's one available on the lighting project that was going to be going in around the river. I don't know, Director Elliott, if you could address that. And then I'll have some other comments after other commissioners have a chance to ask questions.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Brown. Might lean on Park Superintendent Travis Beck with any updates on lighting. I don't have any specific details on that this evening.
I'm afraid I don't as well, since Public Works is managing that project, but we can look into that and provide some information to the Commission.
I do have some. I have some update on that if you want it.
Yeah. Commissioner Locatelli.
Thank you. I was going to ask, there was a report that came out through city staff on the cleanup that was done by the footbridge over kind of behind where Cruzio is, where they cleaned up that camp. And there was a disturbing amount of needles found there. And I'm wondering if those reports go to Parks and Rec. And if that's true, can the Commission get those? Because I think that's something the city and us as commissioners need to be aware of, especially in the light that the law has changed now and who can hand out those needles. And I really, really want the public to be aware of this and know that, you know, we really don't have any say over the volunteers that hand those out, but it's becoming a huge problem. So if you could, I don't know, comment on it or have any say.
Yeah, Commissioner Locatelli, would you repeat again what cleanup was that in particular?
It was the cleanup. I don't like on the Dakota side, I guess, of the bridge, the footbridge. So not in the park necessarily. It was the I guess Public Works that did the cleanup, not the Parks Department. But it is near the San Lorenzo River. It definitely impacts the San Lorenzo River. And I think it's within our scope to become aware of this. And as stewards of the river to, you know, tell people who we represent in our city what's going on down there.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I think, so to answer your question, so that was a Public Works cleanup. And they capture all of that data. So number of needles they would capture that information. Similarly, through Parks and Recreation, we do the same. So any, not just camp cleanups, but any of our just routine operations and maintenance, anytime that we collect syringes, we document those and collect that data. So we often have a number of requests to share that information. We don't currently publish it necessarily, but we have talked recently with our colleagues over the city manager's office in terms of homeless response about an idea of creating some sort of dashboard at some point so that we can provide information related to waste collection, broad waste management, but also include syringe collection as well. So we don't have that set up yet, but a goal that we're working toward. But all of that information is collected by Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and other departments, and we can make that available certainly to the commission or to the public upon request.
Because it's just a little shocking that we collect that information and do nothing with it. And then people make really not very good decisions about, these types of things because nobody's getting this information. And if you go down to, our main beach right now and you walk through the rack line, it's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, I would certainly echo and appreciate your comment there regarding the river mouth. I think shortly after the storm that we had a week or so ago, there was a significant amount of debris that washed down from the river. Fortunately, our beach and wharf crew got on that pretty quickly to clean up a lot of, again, plastic bottles and shoes and tarps and a whole bunch of materials down there. In terms of that data, you raise a good point. We could have a long discussion on this, but the reason we collect that data and what we do with that data, it's tied into a number of different things. I think it's probably best for someone like our homeless response team to come in and report on this. How do we use that? How do we collaborate with the county? The county gives out and collects a lot more needles than the city does overall, and they have reports on this that are published for the community. But where we find them, where we place syringe kiosks, where we address things operationally through parks, that data in terms of syringe collection, it does drive operational changes and our work with the police department on how we respond to that. So is it enough? It never feels like it's enough. But I just want to be clear that we're not collecting those and withholding that information or not using it in a way to hopefully make our parks and public spaces safer. I mean, that's really the intent is to capture that data for smart public policy to make our beaches and parks safer.
Right. I would like to see that we took it to another level to our state representatives and make sure they get that, information. If there's any way to collaborate, who can do that? Because we're just missing this.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Greenside?
Yes, it's sort of related to what Commissioner Locatelli was talking about, although not particularly syringes, but both Director Elliott and I sit on the Cal Water Quality Group. It's got another name, but that's what it is, about the water quality at Cal Beach. So I keep track of water quality numbers, and I did just notice recently that the mouth of the San Lorenzo River has historically been cleaner than Cal Beach at a certain part of Cal Beach. But I did just notice that it has been permanently, it said permanently, whatever that means, the river mouth as being a high fecal indicator bacteria levels. Well, it's obvious why. And I don't understand, since there is space in the city-sanctioned camp, although the benchlands obviously is not going to be a place very long, why I see little knots of tents right against the riverbank. And I mean, it seems to me if there's space for people to go, why aren't the police saying to people, you can't camp here? Because obviously they're using the river as the toilet in those places, whereas in the sanctioned camp, at least there are porta potties. So I just can't understand what's happening. it seems like, you know, sort of like one of those old movies where the sheriff should come to town and do something, because it feels out of control.
Okay,
And I'll just make a statement and leave it at that.
thank you. Any other commissioners would like to make comments, have questions? Okay, then I would like to, I have a question. Under San Lorenzo River updates as of March 2021, it says that various city departments are involved in the care of the river. And I would like to know who those city departments are. And then I have another question. Is it possible to get the Dr. Tiffany Weiss-West reports in regards to updates on the river? And I mean that the commission gets those. And I would like to know who these volunteer and community groups are that Park and Rec is engaged with, so that the commission is getting familiar with the partners that are involved.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Chair Mio. To go down the list of questions here in terms of a range of departments or various city departments involved. Yeah, it includes the Public Works Department, the Water Department, Parks and Recreation, to some degree, the city's Economic Development Department, Planning and Community Development Department, and then obviously from a public safety standpoint, our Police Department and Fire Department. Excuse me. So those are the main departments involved within the city regarding the river. And for Travis or others, feel free to chime in if I'm missing any others. In terms of the quarterly communications report from Dr. Tiffany Weiss-West, that's really what's encapsulated here. So the March 2021 updates, or these bullet point items, this is really the summary of those communications items, kind of project updates for the first quarter of this year. The first half of the report, if you will, so the October 2021, those bullet points, that's the most recent report regarding the river put together by Tiffany Weiss-West. And how this works is that Tiffany hosts a meeting periodically. I think it's a monthly meeting, a river coordination meeting within the city, where all involved departments come to that meeting, share updates on different projects or initiatives going on. We initiated this, I believe, just within the last year, knowing that our communications out to the public probably wasn't as comprehensive as what our community was demanding. A lot of folks want to hear what's going on with the river, what projects are happening. And so this effort in terms of taking this quarterly communication meeting that happens internal to the city and really putting that in a format that can be shared with the community, that's what we've started to do here. So these March 2021 updates are that initial summary from Tiffany, and then the additional bullet points in your agenda packet or on this information item. Those are for the last quarter. And then let's see, during the first quarter of 2021, the city worked with community groups and volunteers to remove over 6,300 pounds of trash along the San Lorenzo River. So again, that was in quarter one of this year. And I'll have to look into this specifically, but the majority of that came from 2 large volunteer days that were organized by a number of community members, primarily from the west side of the city, a lot of surfers who wanted to help keep the river clean to protect the bay and protect the quality of the water, especially in our surf breaks. So I don't recall the number of volunteers offhand, but Councilmember Renee Golder was involved in those projects. There was one, if I recall, in January, February, and I believe those were the 2 where the majority of that trash was collected by those groups.
Thank you. So I would like to see I would like to see more of a connection with City Council and Park and Rec staff to see if maybe we can work on supporting the City Council and getting more active, cohesive in regards to prioritizing the river. So at the next, Park and Rec meeting, I would like to see us bring back some information, and I think that Vice Chair Brown and I will contact City Council, well, the Mayor Myers and City Council member and staff to hear what they have to say, and then bring that information back to the February meeting. So that is what I have, and I think we made it at 6 o'clock, didn't we?
Chair Mio, if I may just jump in, and sorry I'm going to make us go to 6:01 here. One thing that we could do from a staff standpoint is, again, just in the spirit of getting these messages out to the community regarding the river. We hear a lot that the city isn't doing anything regarding the river. It's in poor condition and nothing is happening. I want to be sure, and I know Dr. Tiffany Wise-West does as well. We want to make sure to get these messages out to the community, to let the community know what all is happening regarding the river. And so what we could do is, really utilize this platform, the Parks and Recreation Commission, to help get these out. If it feels appropriate, we could submit on these quarterly reports, we could submit these in this format as an information report to the Parks and Rec Commission, just to make this information publicly accessible, viewable, just available for the community. So we could, if that's of interest to the commission, make that commitment just to get this out on each quarter, so that both the commission and the community can be aware of what's going on with the river. And yeah. I'll just say a lot of this, the majority of this work that's summarized in this report is really done outside of the Parks and Recreation Department. So we're really just capturing information from our internal collaboration, but putting it together in the form of a report for the community. So I just wanted to be clear on kind of who's doing what here, but it's something that we're happy to share with the commission.
Yeah, I think that it's time that a little bit more robust action is taken on the river. So, and I think that in a lot of ways, the commission can help. So it's worth exploring, in my opinion. And I know that the staff is already stretched very thin. So with that in mind, I take the motion to adjourn.
I believe Vice Chair Brown has his hand raised.
Yes? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah,
no
there you are. I'm sorry.
I will make that motion to adjourn in just a moment.
Vice Chair Brown?
Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll make that motion to adjourn in just a moment. But I just wanted to add to your comments, Chair, that I think what we often are dealing with, the subtext with the river and why it keeps coming up, is that we have for many years articulated as a community what we wanted for the river, and we have a million plans, and what we see visually as a community around the river doesn't line up with that, right? And so there's always a constant feeling of disconnect and not being safe, and why are we letting this asset, this beautiful natural resource, be treated in this manner? So I think the goal behind what Chair Mio and I are attempting to do by having conversations with the mayor and the vice mayor is just to get a sense of where those resource gaps are, and could we bring things back to the commission that would help create some additional recommendations for the council, especially ahead of their budget season, so that we can really start taking the things that we have already got in place and just operationalizing them in a more consistent manner for the betterment of the community. So that's my perspective as we head into that conversation. We'll look forward to updating the commission again in February.
Correct. Thank
you. And with that, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.